The Oslo Bislett Games are now the Impossible Games. Since 1965, the renowned athletics meeting in the heart of the Norwegian capital is annually one of the most anticipated events on the calendar. Top-notch fields, a storied tradition, and more than 60 world records over the years on a fast track in cozy Bislett Stadium have come to define the popular meet. But like so many sporting events, the coronavirus pandemic sent the 2020 Bislett Games off track, headed for sure cancellation. But veteran meet director Steinar Hoen said not so fast. With safety first, the meet will now entail a reduced program with no more than 3 athletes per event and social distancing on the track. Added innovation, creativity, and technology will all help to create excitement as the Bislett Games sprint forward on June the 11th. Hello and welcome to this video edition of ATR Radio. I'm Brian Pinelli. Joining me now from Bislett Stadium is the longtime meet director of the Bislett Games and the Norwegian high jump record holder, Steinar Hoen. Hello, Steinar. How are you today?
Hello, Brian. Actually doing well. Things are happening here in Norway on the positive side when it comes to the countries actually opening up and opening it up quickly.
And you're obviously there at Bislett Stadium. I know, as you mentioned, things opening up. It must feel good to be back at your home away from home.
Yeah, I had a home office like everyone else in the world for a long time, but now I'm back in the office. I've been back in the office the last 2 weeks. So we actually opened up Bislett Stadium for the public last week, but as you see, we have a limit of only 5 persons per day at the stadium. So a few of them are indoors now, a few of them outdoors. And this Monday, we're going to open up for a limited of 50 people. So it's opening up gradually.
Looking good, Steinar. So so nice to see that famous track that has been the setting for so many world records over the years, and a great tradition with the Dream Mile that I watched on ABC Sports growing up in the U.S. But obviously something we could never have predicted. You've been running this meet since, I believe, 2007. And obviously, like all of us, you had to adapt, be innovative. Tell me a little bit with, coming up with this concept, and, it's called the Impossible Games now, but when COVID-19 happened, did you think this could be possible?
I have to go back to Sunday, the 23rd of February. It's where I understood that this is going to be dramatic. And the reason why that is because me, like everyone else, we heard of a virus that were in Wuhan, China, and, so far away, it wasn't a problem, never going to hit us. And we have this fantastic Norwegian generation now with Warholm, Ingebrigtsen brothers. So we basically have sold out 80% of the tickets for the spectators. We had a fantastic program, and we felt like we were going into the best year ever, both financially and sport, when it came to Bislett Games. But that Sunday, I realized when the disease started to spread in Italy that this is going to be dramatic. And I had this bad feeling that Sunday night. And I'm also pretty active in the stock market. I've been working as a stockbroker for many years. And that Monday, the market crashed. And the market is always a good indicator for what's coming. And when the market started crashing around the world on Monday, the 4th of February, it kind of never stopped crashing. It just went down and down and down, and it ended, I think the worst date was 12th or 14th of March or something. So I understood that sport is not critical for the society. I understood that pretty early. And sport will probably be the one, together with culture and festivals, that closes first and will open last. That said, I also understood that we didn't have a plan for this because we thought this was something that never going to happen. And the Norwegian help programs, they started to talk about helping different companies out and also culture events. But they talked about the ticket sales, that they will support some of the ticket sales. But there's no help program in the world that could help or be designed for a Bislett Games with international TV sales of many dollars, more than $1.5 million.
Wow.
Or this big international it wasn't a help program for that. And we had an organization staged to produce a big event in Oslo, transmitted in 166 countries with a big prize money budget and everything. So I just felt, as a former economist, that the numbers didn't add up. I was really afraid that we were going down, bankruptcy.
Sure. But you forged forward, came up with this very creative format. To my knowledge, 7 events, 5 running and 2 field, working with the Norwegian Sports Association and obviously Norwegian health officials. So come June 11th, what can we expect, Steinar?
So before I tell you what you can expect, because it's already growing now from the 7 events you talked about, because that was 4 weeks ago. Now we're up to 12 events and we're up to 30 athletes. Yeah. So what happened was that I understood that we had to pay back all the ticket buyers that bought tickets to the stadium. That was around $1 million. Then we had to pay. We didn't get any TV income, but what we could save were our national and Nordic sponsors, because our national and Nordic sponsors, they have a self-interest that Bislett Games doesn't go bankrupt. They like the organization, they like the meet, and they would like us to survive. And what they are most important for them is that we get 1 hour on national and Nordic television. So if I could produce something, anything, that will deliver that part of the contract, namely the logo exposure on national television, Nordic television, then I could probably save those national sponsors. And then I looked at what was legal when it came to COVID-19 and rules of distancing. And in Norway, we had a rule of maximum 5 people and 2 meters. Okay, so if you have a group of 5 people, let's take pool vault. So pool vault is one corner of the stadium, 5 people, that could be 3 athletes and 2 judges. That's a group of 5 people. Right. And 2 meters, they're always 2 meters apart anyway. It's a pool vault. So then on the other side of the track, we could have the discus. And why did I choose the pool vault and the discus? Yeah, because we have good Norwegians and we have great Swedish. So with Mondo Duplantis against the Norwegians, with the Daniel Ståhl against the Norwegians, we could have discus, 3 discus throwers, 2 judges, 3 pool vaulters, 2 judges. Group of 5, 2 meters, no problem. Then when it comes to track, we had to 2 meters distancing. So each lane is 120. So if we had people in lane 1, not 2, 3, but lane 4, not 5, 6, but lane 7, then we could have 2 lanes between each athlete. It meant we could have potentially 3 athletes in every distance from 100 up to 400. But then the problem came. What about distances longer than 400? Because then you only run separate lanes in the first curve and then you go in and you run close. It meant that at that stage, we had to have just 1 athlete running. So that's why we designed a program for our great distance runner, Caroline Grøvdal, that she will run alone for the 3,000 meter record at the Great Divides, which I actually have a picture over here.
There you go, the great Norwegian distance.
It's her last standing record, the 3,000 meter female record that in its time was a world record, and it's a fantastic Norwegian record. So, okay, if we could have a story that Caroline Grøvdal is running against Great Divides, we could use technology here. We could take Great Divides run in 1978 and put on top of Caroline Grøvdal, and there weren't any people in the stadium anyway. So we were actually planning to make a TV program, and on TV you can do many things.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
So that was the story, and television bought into it. They promised me 1 hour on the NRK1 television. Swedish television was interested, Danish, Finnish, and the athletes. I also needed support from the athletes. So I didn't know if they would like to come to visit because I had no money. Mm. But I asked Karsten, I asked the Ingebrigtsen brothers, I asked the Norwegian stars, and they were all willing to actually come to visit for free to help save Bislett. And I'm so grateful for that support that happened when it was dark, when the disease was spreading like crazy in the beginning of March and Norway was locked down. I got this support. And that's why we actually are here now, that things are looking really good.
Great stuff. I'm glad to hear this, Steinar. You mentioned some of the athletes, and you make it sound like you just threw it together, but obviously some top stars, your 400-meter hurdler, Karsten Warholm, who you mentioned, 2-time world champion, second fastest in the 400-meter hurdles. He's going to attempt a world record in the 300-meter hurdles. And of course, with all athletes, they probably haven't been training to capacity, but nevertheless, it's interesting. And, what has he had to say to you about this unique format? Will he have one or two other competitors in the race?
Yeah, the plan was actually something different for Karsten. We had many different plans. I will come out with all the plans we had for him later, but it wasn't possible. So we ended up with Karsten himself said, okay, Steinar, I will do something I've never done before. I will actually tell the public I'm going for a world record, because Karsten never do that. But he wanted to help, get attention. So he found out that he wanted to do it. He hasn't been training for a month because it's been locked down. All the stadiums was closed, but he still felt that record could be in his legs still when he had a month to train. And I think he's going to blow that record away now that actually the stadiums open up and he had time to practice without staying in his apartment.
Yeah,
so that was one thing. And then we looked at different distances, because when you don't have audience in a stadium and you don't have an international TV contract and you basically are doing this to cater for let's say the Nordic parts, which was the original problem. It's not that anymore. Now we're making an international program. I'll get back to that. So the thing were to actually ask the athletes themselves, what distance would you like to do? Because I couldn't pay them one time and they were coming for free. So I put them into the equation and asked them, what would you like to do? So we have many odd distances, but still we have great storytelling behind this. And we have matches, Norway-Sweden, Norway-Finland. We have Mondo Duplantis jumping at Bislett against Renaud Lavillenie that is jumping from his garden in France.
I'll get to that. Don't worry. Don't worry. I'll get to that.
And many other things.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you, though, before we get to a couple of the specific events, and I have to confess, I'm an ex-pole vaulter, so I'm excited to talk about this unique pole vault competition. But, of course, Sebastian Coe broke a world record in the 1,000 meters back in 1981 at Bislett Stadium. I just want to know, this is considered a Diamond League exhibition, maybe not a full-on meeting. What has your communication been like with World Athletics? What has Seb Coe and his team had to say? Did they give you any, restrictions, guidelines, or did they say, do whatever you want?
I'm in the Diamond League board, so I speak with Seb, basically 2 times a week on the board calls, and with Jackie, his assistant, and with John Regent, the CEO. So we all understood that there might not be a season this year. We understood that the Diamond League series with points and the final, that was basically gone. All the other meets was planning on delaying their meet to August in the hope of maybe having then the country opened up and to have spectators. But because Norway was very quick to shut down, we actually got pretty good COVID-19 numbers right away. So already by Easter, Norway was starting to slowly open up again. Schools, kindergartens. This was at a time when US was going into lockdown. We were going out. And we now have basically no spreading of the virus in the system. We're down to like 40 new cases a day and maybe 1 dead every other day. And this means we have a much better view of how it's going to look, because when you lock down, you focus on the lockdown. But when you open up, then the reality comes. Then you understand that there won't be a possibility for Norwegian people to travel and have their vacation in Spain because the government say no. Yeah. They want to protect the good numbers we have. So the Norwegian government came out very early and said no festivals or no sporting events during the whole summer. That means June, July, August, September will be allowed for more than 500 people. So when I knew this already so early, I didn't see a reason why delay Bislett Games to August. Why? Yeah. In August, 500 people. In June, 0. What's the difference? Bislett is full. It's 15,000 people. And it's a queue outside of people wanting to buy tickets on the black market. How can I why wait for 4 months and have 500 people? And who should those 500 be? How can I pick them?
Yeah. The Norwegian royal family would be allowed to come.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's why I decided it's much better for us to if we're going to go with 0 is better than 500, because then nobody gets angry. There's nobody here. And then we might as well just try to do what no sporting event has done this summer, to just stick with our date. Everyone's cancelled. What if we don't cancel? What about that? Isn't that cool? That was my challenge.
You guys are cool. Norwegians, always cool. But here's my question. You know, obviously you brought up Mando Duplantis, the young Swedish pole vaulter that broke the world record 2 times this winter. This meet is not only Norwegian athletes. Now, from what I understand, and you could elaborate, please, is some of these athletes will come in through Sweden, be bussed over the border, and as a result, they won't need to go into quarantine. So exactly how will this work, Steinar?
So here's comes, everybody's wondering that in Norway, how this is possible. And I said, have you ever read the COVID-19 rules? We have Norwegian government COVID-19 rules that has been since 12th of March when the country locked down. So there's always, since the 12th of March, been an exception for people living across the border and working in Norway. So we have a long border with Sweden, we have a long border with Finland. Every day, hundreds and hundreds of people living on the Swedish border, working on the Norwegian border, has every day traveled from their home without stopping, directly to their office, worked. When they finish working, they travel directly back over the border without stopping. And in that way, they don't have to go into quarantine. So this is exception of the COVID-19 rules, paragraph 5. So we didn't need any approval because we're just following the rules. And here comes another misunderstanding. People, I know also in America especially, they have, I don't know how it works there, but I've been speaking to many of them. There's like a public opinion that the rules, they are rules, but the rules are actually to prevent spreading of the disease. They're not meant to make it difficult for you. And it's a misunderstanding between what people believe the rules are meant to be, to make it difficult for people, but the rules are actually meant to not spread the disease. So if we have athletes staying on the Swedish border, then 4 hours before they travel by car without stopping 1 second on the road directly into Bislett, is 1 hour 20 minutes drive. You go to the toilet before you go into the car, you have water in the car. 1 hour 20 minutes. It's normal when I compete in Paris. I'm sitting in the bus from the athletes hotel, sometimes 1 hour and 20 minutes in traffic to get to the stadium. So this is not unusual.
Yeah.
There are highways all the way. So when they get to Bislett, they get into the marathon gate. The car stops at the track, and inside Bislett we have a special rules of distancing, of keeping 1 meter distance, of cleaning the different things. So everything's under control. Then when they finish their meeting, they get the baguette, they go to the toilet, they do whatever, they go into the car and they drive directly back to the Swedish border. In that way, we can prove that those people coming from the Swedish border over to the Norwegian border are not in contact with anyone the whole way. And when we put this into the authority, they said, yeah, I mean, you have done exactly what we want people to do. You actually have prevented any disease coming from Sweden to Norway. So then we don't need approval, because we haven't broken any rules.
Well done.
The rules are there.
Yeah.
It's just to read them.
Well
it's
done.
boring to read the COVID-19 rules, but I know everything about that now. I'm an expert.
Glad to know this. So here's what I have to ask you. I mean, obviously it all relates into having a safe meet, and you were beginning to allude to it. And pretty interesting, World Athletics has had these 2 garden clash pole vaults over recent weeks, first the men, then the women. There's going to be a pole vault in Dusseldorf, Germany, where people can watch from their cars. So, you know, the pole vault, my favorite event, really kind of, you know, raising the level. But for you guys, you're going to have Mando, the world record holder, 2 of the top young Norwegian pole vaulters doing really well, and of course the 2012 Olympic champion, Renaud Lavillenie, competing in his garden outside of Paris. I mean, how do you envision this all working? It sounds complicated.
Yeah, I mean, it's not necessarily so complicated when you have a good TV producer. So this has been kind of a movie, because we're not making a meet, we're making a TV show. This is a big difference. So when you make a TV show, everything's possible. We actually have a news break for the Bislett Games for the first time ever. So because there's no people in the stadium, we have a news break where nothing is happening in the stadium. We're shifting some cameras from the first half to the second half. What we have done in the pool vault is that we have Renault Lavellini, he will jump in his garden around the 5th of June, so a week before Bislett. We sent him yesterday the bib with DHL, so we have a Bislett Games bib, and we also sent him the jumping heights. So with 2 friends, he will produce a 2-camera production, with audio, with everything, on the agreed jumping heights. Mm-hmm. So 531, 541, 561, etc. Then he will jump a normal competition. He will send this tape to Omega in Switzerland, which is our official timekeeper. They will put on graphics and cut every jump into a one piece. So when the competition starts in Oslo, if his jumping order is, let's say, 3rd, so we start with the 1 Norwegian, then the 2nd Norwegian on 531, then we cut in Renault Lavellini's first jump on 531, and then Mondo. And then we continue like that because we have all the jumps in clips, and it's done before.
So you'll keep his series secret from the other guys and have it play out like it's plausibly live?
Yeah, and not only secret from the other guys, but secret from me also. Because this tape goes from Renault Lavellini to Omega in Switzerland, and the Swiss are known for being neutral, yeah? All of Switzerland, they built their whole country on being neutral. So they are the neutral guys. They put on the graphics, send it to NRK in pieces, and the only one that will know anything is the NRK producer, and he has a self-interest, not telling anybody, because he's producing the national signal, an international signal. Yeah.
Steinar,
so it's going to be a great show, and it's going to be good.
Yeah, I mean, that's incredible. Who could have ever fathomed something like this? And, maybe we'll see in some form, some variety, as things get back to normal, something like this. But I just wonder if Mondo is going to try to figure out how much his buddy and rival Renaud, because he's such the young, fierce competitor, I think he'll want to know. But, hopefully you guys keep it a secret. Wanted to ask you about a few of the other events also. 2 distance, well, maybe more now, but a few distance races. You're going to use this light vision technology to show the audience where the world or the Norwegian record is. How is that going to work?
So we have not now. It might be legal with actually using a pacemaker that is 1 meter in front of the others. But when we designed this 4 weeks ago, then it wasn't legal because the distancing rules was 2 meters, or there was a group of 5. Now it's changed. But when we designed it, we actually saw that every event over 400 basically that runs in not separate lanes will have to run alone. So to cater for the Ingebrigtsen brothers and Caroline Grøvdal, which is 2 famous Norwegian runners, we saw the only opportunity to have a pacemaker using technology, and the Wavelight system, which actually is a laser that goes around the track, shows the different lap times you have to use with different colors. Can actually be more people running on the same Wavelight system. Could be our pacemaker. And using technology, then when it gets close to the evening at the Bislett Games, 10 o'clock, 10:30, it's dark. So on television, it will look spectacular. And you will know where the athletes are according to which record they have set out to do. So I think that will be something that we actually will continue with next year, in that every meeting that will have this Wavelight system maybe installed forever, because it will help us when we have pacemakers that never do their job well. I'm always angry with them. I pay them money and they don't do what I say, and then they can just follow the light. So
don't need them anymore.
And the light is now. Yeah, and it's approved from the IAAF, so it's every record will be set. It's going to be a world record because the light system is now approved and can be into any stadium. So this is some of the support. I mean, the IAAF, the World Athletics, which is now the name. I mean, when they saw and heard about my idea, they were like, in the beginning, they thought I was crazy. But then when I told them that it's actually going to happen, they were really supportive. And the day before we had a press conference 4 weeks ago, Seb came out and said he really wanted to support the project, and he came up with a very important amount. It's not a big amount, but 4 weeks ago it was really big money because it was the only one I had, $50,000 that was given from the IAAF or World Athletics to support the athletes, because he knew that all the athletes were coming for free. So he put up the money and said that money is going to be earmarked.
What about, we have implements, obviously, starting blocks, and hurdles and shot puts. And anyone that's ever been at a track and field meet knows it's a chaotic circus, usually in a good way. But, between volunteers and officials and athletes warming up, what other safety precautions? Because I assume we can't have, 5 people handling a shot put or starting block. So another thing to consider?
Yeah, I mean, when I designed it, it was a group of 5 people, like I told them, 2 meters. And now the Norwegian government 2 weeks ago changed their rules of 50 people and 1 meter. That means I can have 50 people down at the track. So by any time, they can have maximum 50 people, including the people from Omega timing, including the judges and the athletes at one particular time. But then, of course, I can have people warming up, because I have a warm-up stadium also, which is underneath the Bislett Stadium, and that could be another group of maximum 50 people with coaches, with everything. And each group of 50 people have to have an authorized person that are in charge to keep the COVID-19 regulations. So we have made groups of people, 50 people, and then NRK, that are the host broadcaster, they are another group of 50 people. Then I have a private kind of setup with my sponsors, which is indoors at Bislett, kind of VIP boxes. That's a group of 50 people. And so I'm just following the rules. And when the rules are changing, I'm changing. And I can say that the rules have changed in our favor. So now the meet is starting to grow. I'm starting to now have a real meet, and the 1 hour Bislett Games is now up to 2.5 hours, and it's going to be live on television in many other countries than I thought from the beginning. I just yesterday had a phone call from BBC that will probably air it in one of their channels, and the TV channel after TV channel is now coming in when they see I have now athletes from many other countries, and now the last project also with my Kenyan thing with the Ingebrigtsen brothers is going to really blow out everyone.
It's an unbelievable work in progress, unlike anything I've ever heard in track and field. Obviously, we all want to see how it comes together. You speak of the media interest, obviously produced by NRK, but I assume now more and more journalists want to come. And as you know, when Karsten or anyone sets a good time, often there are 15, 20 journalists hanging over each other to get the interview. How are you going to manage the interest from the media and also keeping with the regulations to keep everything on track, so to speak?
So NRK, they have a group of 50 people, so their interviews have to be one of those 50 people that do their part. Then we're going to have a mixed zone, which is very limited, and because the travel restrictions into Norway is so strict, it means basically only Swedish journalists can come in and go out the same day, because they will also by definition be at work at Bislett. But of course, if journalists from other countries do the same, they get to Sweden and they travel into Bislett and out again, and then their agency need to have some kind of job for them at Bislett, and we need to cater for them to be at a certain place that are in distance from the other journalists that are in the same place. And we're building up a system now, and we have a closed stadium, so we will know exactly who is here. And then our media boss Morten will design a program that each journalist will have a place to be, which is away from the other journalists. And the thing now is that there are no people in the stadium, and it used to be 15,000. So there's enough room. So there could be a journalist sitting over there, another one over there. It could be 100 meters in between them. So there's enough room. And we will go, the rule is 1 meter, but we probably go with 10 meters in between each journalist.
Steinar,
yeah.
I was going to say, it actually sounds kind of nice. I get a little frustrated when you're in a press room and fellow journalists are hanging on top of you two, and there's not a lot of space. Maybe we can continue this well after the COVID-19 restrictions. It actually sounds kind of nice.
Yep.
Yeah. What about, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, we're basically designing everything according to the rules, from every little detail.
Sounds wonderful.
We are lucky to have an organization that actually are built to host a big international meet, and we kept all our people now at their job. So not many organizations in Norway have the staff to actually do something like this, because it's a big job behind the scenes.
Sounds incredible. I have to ask you, as I told you earlier, I've been to the Bislett Games a few times, and just such a wonderful meet there in, the heart of Oslo. But one of my favorite parts, as I'm sure many journalists will agree, and quite the tradition, is the strawberry party a few nights before the meet, where journalists are invited, taste some wonderfully ripe Norwegian strawberries, accompanied by luscious vanilla ice cream. Is there a modified version of the strawberry party? I almost don't want to know, because I could taste them in my mouth. Yeah. Does the strawberry party continue in some capacity?
Yeah, and it's going to be the most strange strawberry party ever, because it's going to be a joint strawberry party at the Swedish border and in Oslo. So we're going to have it at the same time the day before, starting at 5 o'clock, I think. So there will be a strawberry party with the athletes, the Swedish athletes, the Finnish athletes, Danish athletes, Swiss athletes that are living on the Swedish border. They will have strawberries in front of them. It will be shared by Teams or Zoom or the video conferencing technology we have today. And then at the same time in Bislett, there will be the Norwegian athletes. So we'll actually create a dual strawberry party in Sweden and in Norway at the same time, to be our press conference.
That is absolutely astounding. You guys have not left any detail, any stone unturned. A little time still before the meet, Steinar, and I'm excited to hear, always evolving. Anything else? Any other surprises that you're working on here in the home stretch, heading toward the finish line?
Yeah, I mean, every great meeting needs some kind of spectacular finish, and what we are working on right now is something I think will be really spectacular. It's a match between Team Ingebrigtsen and Team Chariot. So the plan now is that we have Timothy Chariot, the world champion in the 1500. He'll pick 4 other guys and run a 2,000 meter in Nairobi on the 9th of June. And then on the 11th of June, the Team Ingebrigtsen will pick a couple of rabbits, and then have 5 guys start in Nairobi, have 5 guys start at Bislett for the 2,000 meter match between Team Ingebrigtsen and Team Chariot, or you can call it Team Kenya, Team Norway. And each team can have 2 rabbits dropping off, but the best time of the 3 athletes to finish will determine who will win of the 2 teams. And the way we're going to do that is that we're going to film a 2,000 meter in Nairobi, Kenya, I think on the 9th of June, 4-5 camera production. And then the same production going to go to our neutral friends in Omega Timing in Switzerland. They're going to put on all the graphics, keep the time secret. And then when we pull off this last event of the day, it's going to be on a split screen. So you're going to watch a race in Nairobi, race at Bislett going on at the same time. Nobody knows the outcome, and it's going to be really tough, because we're talking Team Chariot here, talking the best runner in the world, and we're talking Jakob Ingebrigtsen on the other hand, that just a couple of days ago set the almost the European record in the 5K, so it's already in shape. So it's going to be incredible race.
Steinar, you are a mad scientist, if you don't mind me saying it. It all sounds mind-boggling, exciting. Everyone anticipating from what you were telling me. Last question. Obviously, we all think about a return to normalcy where, you have a packed house at Bislett Stadium. You have, 20 runners jockeying for position. You have camaraderie between pole vaulters. But do you think that some of these ideas, this innovation implemented here at Bislett, may carry on to the future? Because maybe it's not such a bad thing having just 2 or 3 runners in a race, or having these video competitions worldwide. Can you see some of these ideas moving forward after things continue to improve?
Maybe it's going to be a change, because I'm now doing what I'm doing. I know my Swiss friends in Weltklasse is working on similar project. I know my friends in Monaco is working on something else. And when you don't have a choice, you just have to cater and find some storytelling to survive. You think outside the box. And if you look at my program now, every event has a reasoning behind it. There's not one single event I just have. When I'm part of the Diamond League, I have some events that are distributed to me that really doesn't have any Norwegian interest at all. But each event now has a storytelling. It's either Norway-Finland, it's a match against the record. It's two teams against each other. It's a split screen. It's Mondo against Lavillenie, which is, it's a cool thing if it was in a stadium, but it's even cooler when it's two different places. So there might be, I didn't have a choice now. I just had to find a storytelling and produce a TV show. And what I'm producing now is basically a TV show. And I think basically for Norwegian audience that this Bislett Games or Impossible Games is going to be more interesting than a normal Bislett Games, because everything now is about our Nordic heroes, either in competition against the record or in competition against somebody else. So you have the man-to-man or face-to-face matchup, or you have the record. So you have a story behind everything, and that's not necessarily the case when you watch normal track and field meet.
Yeah. Steinar, I think the only thing missing, if you don't mind me saying, my suggestion, you are still the Norwegian record holder in the high jump. No veteran, no senior master's class in the high jump to kind of wrap up the meet. You seem like you have the energy that this wouldn't be a big problem.
It's funny you say that, because people asked me when this was at its darkest hour in March, and I tried to fill 1 hour, and I said I'm willing to do everything. So if I don't get Atlas on board, I'm willing to actually make a comeback and jump myself at Bislett Stadium just to create some interest that I get this shit on television for 1 hour that I can save my sponsors. So, but luckily the other athletes pulled up and came through, and I didn't have to make a comeback, and I think people should be happy for that.
Good stuff. Well, Steinar, we wish you all the best. We look forward to the Bislett Games, now the Impossible Games. Wonderful innovation, and all the best. And thanks for taking the time here on ATR Radio today.
Thank you. So it's like people say, nothing is impossible.
I like it. Thank you so much. Tusen takk, Steinar. Tusen takk. And thank you for joining in to this edition of ATR Radio. I'm Brian Pinelli. AroundTheRings.com, your best source for news about the Olympic Games. Have a great day, everybody.